Hello, everyone. It's Maylena Ann.
Jordan.
And we are the board certified BAes.
BAes.
And this is Seamus.
Hey, I'm back. Seamus is back. For episode 4 of our little mini-series. I wonder what we're going to call this mini-series. Who knows? We'll figure it out. All right. We've had so much time together already. Gone through so much stuff. All of it's important. Dropping nuggets for all BCBAs, parents, and clinicians, BTs, RBTs out there, which is huge. Let's continue this trend and see what else we can dig up.
Awesome.
All right.
Bring it on.
This, I think, is a good one. What do you wish more people understood about neurodiversity and neurodivergent experiences? Or the neurodivergent experience?
This is a super important one. Obviously, with answering this question, it's going to be a bit more general in a sense, and we all know the rule. You meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism. So it applies with neurodivergence in all, shapes and colors. So that's the first thing to understand is really take that to heart. I get caught up in this too. We tend to put a broad category of people into a monoculture or a monolith. Like autism and neurodivergence is often viewed as a monolith in the sense that we have expectations that, like we talked about earlier, that can be accurate and correct, but most often are not what I would call person-centered. And with working with any sort of minority group, such as disabled, BIPOC, queer, immigrant, we as clinicians, as people work in this field, really do need to be putting emphasis on the person-centered part of our services. And a lot of that it starts and it also ends with, getting to really understand the person that, you're working with, or even just getting to know in a non-professional sense. We're all different, obviously, but then we're also very similar. But in those similarities, you're going to see so many different things that are not like the other thing. So think about like when we're working with stereotypy, how many clients do you have that have the exact same stereotypy, like a vocal stem? It's rare you're going to get them to say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But that's just like a small example of that's how different they are. And even if it's a vocal stem where they repeat a sentence, it could be, less frequent. It could be more intense. It could also be one where it's like they change the way they do it at different times, different intervals, what have you. It also is the big thing with like communication. Just as an example, a lot of people think that in order to effectively communicate, you have to do it specific ways. There's like a small handful of ways that we would consider effective or functional communication. And I know you guys aren't in that camp where you think like, well, no, there's only a small handful of ways we could consider functional communication. Communication, as long as it's understood, is communication. Whether or not it's functional is really mostly, I would say, dependent on how safe is it, and then how is this going to be able to be understood by more than just a small group of people. That being said, there is something called the double empathy problem. Have you all heard of that? The double empathy problem, in a nutshell, is There's some really, really good research on it. It's still developing more, but it's literally go on Google, look up double empathy problem. There's scientific peer-reviewed research on the fact that the conclusion is that neurodivergent people and neurotypical people both have a deficiency in communicating and understanding each other. It's not like for the past hundreds and hundreds, or if not thousands of years, that the neurodivergent person was the one that had the communication deficit. It concludes that both neurotypical and neurodivergent people each have it. And it's up to, a lot of the times, it's up to neurotypical, but also a lot of neurodivergent people to help bridge that gap and educate everyone on how we can find ways for a child to communicate as best as they can with the ways they already know how, and how we can build upon it. It's still something in ABA that I know is so difficult to tackle. And some kids we have a much easier time doing, working on that with. But I think even in a non-clinical sense, I am expected to communicate in a certain way in order for other people to accept that as a valid way of communication. Mm-hmm. You've known me in the past where I've gone through rough times and I have verbal shutdowns where I won't speak or even text with people. And that's one of my ways of I can't communicate the two main ways that we do every day. I have a hard time speaking, and I have a hard time writing and sending something. That is really something a lot of your BCBAs and RBTs out there and parents really understand that about neurodivergent people, that communication is a two-way, is a two-way street. And oftentimes we have to accept that the communication methods we're used to are not going to be the way to reach your child or the way to reach anybody with neurodivergence. It's one of the biggest things I've had a lot of roadblocks with, so to speak, and really take that to heart when we're working with this population. Just know it's tough for us. It's really tough for us when we're getting demands placed on us, when we're not in any way, shape, or form ready to give that output that people are looking from us. Sometimes we need those accommodations, or just need space, or need a different way to communicate, or simplifying an already established way of communication. Yeah.
That makes sense. And that's, as a neurotypical person, and going through that with you, where being shut out for weeks, if not months, it's not gonna lie, it was hard to understand.
Absolutely.
Right. It took you breaking it down to be able to explain, and then you being my significant other and wife, and you're like, "Is everything okay?" I was like, I don't know if you remember me saying he just goes through this time where he, shuts everyone out.
You said something on social media, and I was like, check on Seamus right now, and Jordan's like,
yeah, I had to pull in the reins a little bit because we've had that conversation before.
Yeah.
And then now it's turned into hey, if you need me, just let you know that I'm here. Just so happens that the last few times that I've reached out just happened to be at opportune moments where he thought it was a setup.
No, that was completely. I don't know how you predicted that. That was really good timing. But yeah, it's different for people like me who have very traditional communication methods. I have the verbal and written pretty much down, but I'm also at the mercy of my own autistic burnout and executive dysfunction. It's a really big thing, especially as children, that we need to all be mindful of. And I remind myself every day, hey, you still have those moments where you need people to understand you're not going to be able to communicate effectively. Make sure to give these kids the understanding of, hey, you're still learning, you're still developing. We have so much time to get there, or to see where you can get. And that's a big emphasis. See where they can get. It's a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. People learn new communication methods at age 70. You know, it's there's no rush. We want to meet them where we're at. We want neurotypical people to be able to meet us where we're at, because we're kind of expected to, for the most part, try to meet as best as we can where neurotypical people are at. So it's a fun conversation. Definitely one I think everyone should look into, the double empathy problem, do some reading. It's really interesting stuff. It's also important for the understanding of neurodivergent folks.
Yeah, I definitely think I'll look at that. And if you've got some specific articles that you'd want, send them over. Always happy to learn and be better.
Maybe it'll be in the link below. I've always wanted to do that for you.
It'll be in the link below.
Make us one of those. So something that you said in there really like triggered a question. For our listeners, what kind of misunderstandings or myths would you like to debunk right in this moment about that journey? About what or specific things that you could clarify on that may be considered a myth or a misunderstanding that neurotypical people don't have.
Yeah.
And you only have to do like
these,
one or two.
Yeah, I was going to say these don't require too much elaboration. These are like really quick, simple statements. One, neurodivergent people are still people, and that means we need all of the same things that everybody else does. We just need, from time to time, or sometimes permanently, modifications and accommodations. Autism and ADHD and being neurodivergent is a disability. That is also a myth a lot of people don't think. It is a disability. Even my autism, while we would be considered very low support needs, I'm still disabled. I use the ADA. I've used it in the past. I get accommodations from time to time. Keep that in mind. It's a disability. The other thing is, this is for parents and people who are working with kids that get older, especially when they're getting older. Do not talk to neurodivergent children or adults like they are stupid or like they are children, or talk to them in a different way that basically says you're not a normal person. Autism is normal. It is normal. Anyone who disagrees with that, I would really challenge that notion. And then another big one is neurodivergent folks, autistic folks. We could talk about something a little uncomfortable, but it's an important thing. Autistic folks are sexual beings too. Like it's a weird one to say, but I've had a lot of people myth-wise think that the autistic folks especially are not, romantic or have any of that interest. And it's like, okay, that's really weird to say that, but okay. It's simply not true. There is, we're as normal as you can be. We just kind of sometimes don't like the texture of specific foods, or don't like wearing specific clothing, and we get really nauseous. Does that make us not like typical people? No, it just means we need the same things in a little bit of a different way. I don't think there's any other myths. I think just understanding that it's a spectrum. It's like a color wheel. I might look a little like other autistic folks, but then someone like my brother, we're very much different parts of that spectrum, So we're all of different, races, different ethnic backgrounds, different orientations, different heights, weights, genders. We're beautiful. We're lovely. And we want to be, we want to sit at the table. We don't like it when people exclude us when it's about us. There's nothing about us without us. If you can remember that one phrase and really take it to heart, y'all will go a long way. Nothing about us without us.
Drops the mic.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm out. See y'all.
No, thanks for that. And I think that's it was a good question, I think, to put there, because I feel like for our listeners, whether they're RBTs, BCBAs, parents, other autistic individuals or neurodivergent individuals, people just looking for something different to listen to, I think that's a really important, just a societal, evolution, or a societal building block to get to the next step. Whatever that may be. I think just debunking some of those things from your perspective, right? Like, it's a perspective that I don't have, that Maylena doesn't have, which is why we're doing this, which is why we're here and enjoying this time together.
The crazy thing is, it's just honestly my perspective. I do take a lot of other people's perspectives and I try to present those because, I don't share a lot of specific traits with other autistic and neurodivergent folks, but I've listened to a lot and I'm able to communicate, hey, this is what other people in my, my community go through. And, I have my personal experiences, and then I have been very blessed and privileged to hear other people's, and I'm able to, as a community, what we've somewhat agreed, not somewhat, but pretty well established that we've agreed upon. I'm able to tell, you guys and everyone else listening, listen to autistic voices, listen to neurodivergent voices.
Yeah, they're definitely important, for sure. So and maybe this can be a quick answer, I'm not sure. How would you consider your autistic self or neurodivergent self, and how have you found that to be a strength?
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
In what ways, what areas? Relationships, professionalism, socialization. Where would you consider it a strength?
Pattern recognition. Oh my God, I am so good at pattern recognition. And a lot of autistic people are. We matrix reasoning, if you all do stupid IQ tests. I'm really good at pattern recognition, and I am really good at taking pretty blunt feedback. I've told people that have been my supervisor, just tell me straight up. Don't sugarcoat it. I like when people are blunt with me.
Which makes sense why you guys are friends.
I've always appreciated his bluntness. It's always been I've always laughed at him. I'm like, I love how blunt he is.
I'm like, I've always cried, but it's fine. I'm just kidding.
Jordan's been mean to me a few times, but it's also been no, but he does it out of love.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of the strengths part too, I think it's my unwavering ability to adhere to morals and ethics to a way where I will fight to the death for them. I'm pretty. No, I am a.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
I'm someone that does like to read. I like to educate myself. I'm also open to being wrong. I kind of appear like I know it all, but I assure people I don't, and I actually love it when I find out I'm wrong and people can educate me. It just has to be constructive, but also it can be blunt. And I take a lot of that constructive feedback, and I wear it so heavily, and I take it to heart. And I do have a huge sense of justice, and I'm not talking about right from wrong, just in terms of if it's presented to me, I'm going to be pretty within bounds that I've been given. Unless I've kind of mastered something, then I can show people, you know what? I've learned the parameters that I've been given, and I know how to go outside of those and then be able to teach that to other people. I think very much in black and white, and I live within like a lot of these nuances because I always like to think, nope, that's 100% looks that way, but let's try to think of, let's try and go outside of that. I think that's where my neurodivergence has helped me in every aspect of my life. Lifelong learner right there. And my rigidity has gotten me very far. Very much so. When I do something, I want to do it really well.
So after that, how about we add, as we're getting to the close, what is something that you wished every RBT, every BCBA, every therapist, anyone trying to get in this field that may be listening should know? If that was one thing that they can take away from this series, what would it be?
It would be to go into this field with a trauma-informed mindset and understanding that we are here to help this population of people gain skills in areas that will respect their autonomy, promote independence, and educate them on skills to keep them safe, to keep them happy, and really, really listen to the voices of those that know neurodivergence the best. Anyone who's autistic, who has ADHD, listen to, people with Down syndrome, their voices. Anyone that we give service to with those types of diagnoses, listen to the voices. I encourage everyone who's on social media to, look up creators that have, these diagnoses, and really learn what it means to be trauma informed. The end of the day, we have a higher rate of trauma just by existing, and it's up to the current and next generation of ABA providers and SLPs, OTs, teachers to learn person-centered approaches and trauma-informed care. That would be the one major thing that I think would cover so many bases, is just don't stop learning about that. If you start to feel comfortable, you need to immediately get yourself uncomfortable and make sure that we are, we're caught up, and that we're also want to be the change we want to be in this field, because I truly do think the future for like ABA and specifically it's so bright. It's come such a long way, and I'm seeing the people who are wanting to make make waves and make a big splash, because we're only going to get better. And it really starts with understanding the people you work with and wanting them to be the best version of themselves they are, to be happy, safe, and healthy, and have fun. Don't forget to have fun, guys. Learn play skills.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Learn play skills, please.
Yeah.
Learn play skills. I said it 3 times. I'll say it 3 more.
Gotta know how to play to get that connection.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So thank you for saying it 3 times.
Yeah.
Feel free to say it.
Hopefully
3
it
more.
comes true.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a genie.
That's how it works.
If only. I don't know how many times I've had to tell staff something 3 times.
Oh gosh, just the teaching play skills for when I supervised other RBTs was interesting. Some of them didn't look like they were having fun. I'm like, oh come on, you can make fun out of anything.
Yeah,
that's my motto.
It's very true.
But yeah, I don't like to repeat things 3 times if I don't have to. But learn play skills.
Well, that's 4 then. So.
Learn play skills, 6. We're going to cut it off there.
All right. I love that. Love that. Melina, any other further questions?
No questions, just a thank you for
Thank you.
coming on and just sharing your heart and your soul and being vulnerable to the population of everybody actually that is listening to this. It's just great to have your experience and your voice from both an autistic individual, but also from a person that actually did ABA. And so, yeah, it's very unique perspective and it's helpful. And again, hearing you saying, your experience is only one experience. I think that's great that you're also saying that, because I think sometimes people do definitely forget that. So we're thankful to hear your experience, and lucky to have you on.
Couldn't ask for two better people to talk about this with on a Wednesday night back in my home state. Thanks so much, guys.
No, I appreciate you, man. I do a lot. It's just one of those things that I think needed to happen. I think it's just a unique platform to do so, and why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. I'm honored.
Sweet.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys too. This is fun.
It is.
Till next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You will be back.
You will definitely have you back for sure. Thanks for
Yes.
kickstarting these little mini-series episodes that we'll do, and or mini seasons.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some other guests come on as well and share. But we'll definitely have you back. Maybe we can even do a panel.
Ooh. Fun.
Panel.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Drive safe.
Bye.
Bye, guys.